go! My god, this game is so good! Ultrakill, the fast-paced, first-person shooter referred to by its own publisher, that is, as Devil May Quake. And that is like the perfect definition. The mixture of fast and deep movement mechanics, along with some of the most vicious combat I've ever seen in an FPS. And an overall design that puts skill and fun over everything else make up for this, and this is weird because the game is still on early access, but in my view, this is already on its way to be a fucking masterpiece, and I don't say that lightly. I guess that's what you get when your moment-to-moment gameplay is just so polished that I have no doubt in my mind that whatever new content and changes are coming next, this will only get better. Like, it's impossible to fuck this up at this point, and I don't mean it in a way that it's easy to do, right? Like, at all. It's just that there is more than enough proof here that for the most part single dev behind this game has such a clear vision of what this game is that again, it will only get better. The experience of walking into an immaculate arena, fighting enemies as they spawn in, being in the encounter, and then taking a moment to look back and see the red painted walls signaling the carnage that just went down, it's glorious. This is a game that is not afraid to be a game. From the low detail, low poly PS1 art style to the fact that when you're stepping into a level, you're so clearly stepping into a video game level. There is no pretending, no hiding, it's actually the exact opposite. The game asks the player to step out of bounds. It achieves this sort of meta level design, but it allows the player to get into places you don't seem to be supposed to reach, and then it's like, haha, you're on top of the level now, don't forget to pick up the secret, by the way. If you think something should be possible by extrapolation of the game mechanics, then it most likely is. You just need the skill to pull it off, especially when it comes to combat. Before getting into the meaty stuff, I want to close this section by saying this. Ultrakill is already one of the best single-player first-person shooters I've ever tried, like period. No exaggeration, nothing. Enemy design, encounter design, level design, weapon design, movement, arsenal. I don't have a single bad thing to say about this game, and trust me, I tried, and I just can't come up with a single complaint. What am I gonna say, that we need more content? First of all, the game is in early access, and there is like half of the game missing, and what is there is already a lot anyways, and since when wanting more content is a bad thing, it just goes to show how good this shit is. The only thing that may put some people off are the graphics, the art style, and you know what, okay, if you're not into this sort of art style, fine, but honestly, like, really, are you gonna let go of this awesome gameplay because you just don't like the art style a little bit? Come on, dude, give it a try. I promise the game still looks so freaking good. So TLDR, if you like fast-paced first-person shooters and you're looking for a really good single-player experience, then you have to give Ultrakill a try. Ultrakill is being published by New Blood, the guys behind Dusk, Amid Evil, the upcoming Gloomwood, and all the shitposts that overpopulate my Twitter feed. I don't know how these guys do it, but they manage to find some of the most talented and hard-working devs out there, and instead of forcing any kind of vision upon the game or trying to take ownership of their work, it's like instead the games become even more true to their vision. It's weird. As they themselves like to say, we love you and we hate money. Which, yeah, I get it, seems like a cheap marketing fuss, but honestly, every single one of their games are straight up underpriced. For real, I will have no problem paying triple the price for something like that. Only $20 for one of the best FPSs of the decade? Are you fucking kidding me? No microtransaction bullshit, no live service, and early access done right. If you're into boomer shooters, it's hard not to fall in love with these guys. Ultrakill starts as any game where the main character is a robot should start, with a boot up sequence. After a long, boring and bland cinematic— I'm just kidding, there are no freaking cinematics in this game— we instantly gain control of our character, B1, a robot fueled by human blood who decided to invade Hell in search of more blood since the human race is extinct. Thanks robots for that, I guess. And apparently we just all went straight to hell. You know what? Sign me up! Oh, and demons are probably not going to be happy about this whole thing. A short tutorial introduces the movement basics, like dashing, sliding, and so on. I will get to that in a second. And the core healing mechanic. Remember when I said that B1 uses blood as fuel? Well, you better get used at showering in blood, because that's literally your lifeline. Disgusting, maybe, satisfying, abso-fucking-lutely. Once we're done with the tutorial, we soon get our first weapon, the revolver. And let the action begin, because here is where you go from, this game might be fun, to, oh my god, this is amazing! The moment you charge your revolver shot for the first time, let go of it, and a laser just pierces through a horde of enemies and blood starts powering everywhere and the skill meter fills up, you know you're in for a ride. Okay, so let's talk about gameplay a little bit. This game has a very analog feeling, very much not deterministic. I cannot believe it took me this long to bring Doom into the conversation, but here we go. Take Doom. In Doom, you have a vast number of movement options, but you always feel grounded. Yeah, you can double jump, dash, grapple hook, but you always feel very much completely in control. Like you're driving a monster truck that will always land on its four wheels. Ultrakill, on the other hand, feels like driving a go-kart with a rocket engine duct taped to the back. It's like a mix of Quake physics with Doom controls. You still have full control of your character, but get ready to fly across the map and slide through the arena, ignoring any kind of friction. I know, it's a weird comparison, what the hell. B1 can move. Oh boy, he can move. The basics rely on sliding to ignore friction, jumping and dashing. Your dash can be used at any point and is only limited by a 3-bar stamina meter that quickly fills back up when not used. With just these 3 components, you can already come up with some insane mobility options. Dashing lets you quickly gain momentum in a given direction along with some iframes, and sliding into a jump will boost your speed, and bunny hopping will keep it going, so yeah, there are a lot of combinations there, awesome. Walls are sticky, you don't just slide down a wall, but you can actually perform a wall jump, so add that to your toolkit too. Crouching mid-air will send you into a ground slam that either crushes enemies or sends them flying into the sky. And if you jump immediately after slamming, your jump will go higher relative to the strength of the slam. Grappling hook, okay. Rocket jumping, yep. You know what I mean? Endless freaking possibilities, fun to play and hard to master. The perfect combo. The same goes for weapons. Man, it's like the devs sat down and said, okay, let's come up with some weapons. We just need to make sure of 2 things. First, they have to be fun to use. And second, they will be completely, absolutely, utterly fucking overpowered. Or at least they will feel that way. I have no idea what the theoretical maximum DPS is or even how to achieve it, but it doesn't matter because the only thing preventing you from killing every single enemy in the game in like 1 second is your lack of imagination first, and second your clumsy fingers that just can't keep up with all the weapon switching your brain is trying to pull off. What I'm trying to say is that when playing this game, you are constantly under the impression that you are underutilizing your arsenal. And that is a great feeling to have, because it basically puts all the blame on the player. If you died, it isn't that the game is being unfair, because you know that your character is more than capable of beating the encounter. You just suck hard enough to fail. Isn't that a great feeling? Alright, so there are 4 base weapons at your disposal: the revolver, shotgun, nail gun, and rail cannon, each of them supporting a variety of forms that change their behavior, which often comes down to modifying their secondary shot. So weapon switching doesn't just come down to, switching weapons, but also selecting among their multiple variants. It's like if in Doom, instead of having 8 weapons with 2 attachments each, you have 4 weapons with up to 4 attachments each, and you actually use them all. Take the revolver. The default shot just fires a single bullet. Now you can hold right click to start charging this laser beam that pierces all targets and hits like a truck. If you switch to the second variant, you start flicking coins? What is going on here? Oh, now we're talking! The blue shotgun will also double as a rocket launcher. Its green version can be pumped extra time to deal more damage, with its max stage taking half your HP. This can be either used for boosting or dodged with a properly timed dash. So aside from guns, you also have multiple arms to switch between and modify your melee attack. The red arm explodes and sends enemies flying. The blue arm can parry projectiles. Wait. Oh Lord Jesus, hold me the fuck back! Yes, I am indeed parrying my own shotgun projectiles here, and no, as far as I can tell, the game doesn't teach you this. Nail guns are cool, yeah, but have you ever tried a nail gun that fires magnets, attracting bullets and creating an AoE? These type of interactions all contribute to that analog feeling I referenced earlier. Many times there is no just pressing a button and shit happens. No. You press a button, your character flips a coin, and then you need to actually aim at the coin, probably while moving super fast, and hit the coin for anything to happen. Firing your own shotgun projectiles is not something the game teaches you how to do, and the timing is tight enough that you will hardly do it unintentionally. The level of depth offered by Ultrakill's combat sandbox is far greater than the majority of games out there. So much so that there is a dedicated community of players constantly coming up with new tech and pushing the boundaries of the game. When playing through each level for the first time, it's so cool to see how every new upgrade you get opens the door for a completely new world of options. To the point where keeping up becomes pretty much impossible and your brain just starts melting when considering the possibilities. I'm not the greatest Devil May Cry fan, but I did play DMC5. You know, when you start controlling Dante and you don't go 20 minutes without getting a new weapon with a completely different moveset, and you're like, what the fuck dude, I'm still trying to figure out how to use the base sword somewhat efficiently. Can you stop? Give me a break? I'm just kidding, don't you dare stop and keep giving me all the weapons, this is fucking awesome. This is one of the main reasons why you keep coming back to this game, no matter if you finish it like 10 times already, you still feel like you have so much to learn. Now, the player being able to engage in a universe of gameplay mechanics is freaking great, but worthless if the combat is boring or uninteresting. Well, how lucky are we that this is not the case at all? The combat puzzle, often talked about when discussing Doom, is definitely present here, but Ultrakill's puzzle is more akin to Devil May Cry than Doom. Encounters are less about how to beat an enemy and more about how to kill each enemy as efficiently as possible while also looking cool doing it, filling up that style meter and bleeding them as much as humanly possible to heal up. Improvisation and awesomeness come first, strategy is for losers. The core healing mechanic plays a primordial role here, forcing the player to get close and dirty instead of shooting enemies from far away, essentially achieving what the Doom devs often describe as push-forward combat, where sustainability comes from dealing damage up close while running away will get you nowhere. Which is even more true in this case, by the way, since medkits and pickups are nowhere to be found in this world. So feed off their sweet, sweet blood, good hunter. Just like Devil May Cry, encounter difficulty usually comes in the form of combining different enemy types in varying numbers. Most enemies will just get destroyed in a 1v1. But when the chaos breaks out and you end up with multiple copies of 7 different enemy variants on screen at the same time, each with different movesets, attack patterns and weaknesses, it quickly gets pretty hard to keep up. And to continue the DMC comparison, we might as well acknowledge the style meter that pops up during combat. So here's a weird thing. You could straight up remove the whole style ranking system from the game and it wouldn't change my playstyle at all. Firing a rocket, switching to a revolver to fire a laser beam, flipping a couple coins and loading the nail gun, firing your own shotgun projectiles, slamming into a group of enemies. I don't need a style meter to force me to do all that. Pulling those sort of tricks is not just cool as fuck, but also inherent to the combat loop. And no, I'm not saying the style meter is bad, quite the opposite. The combat sandbox takes the player on this stylish power fantasy trip in such a natural capacity that you don't need to go out of your way to fill that meter up. What's happening on screen is already rewarding enough, but the meter will still hit the Ultrakill rank because you're just that fucking cool. Just like those satisfying hit markers when playing, I don't know, Call of Duty, or the sound of a Caval's face exploding after being shot with a Destiny hand cannon, the style middle ranking is there saying, yes, keep going, paint the walls red with their blood and don't look back. Going back to enemies, there are a few mechanics in place that may shake up the pace of each encounter. For example, some enemies can enter an enraged status after taking some damage, forcing the player to be particularly careful when choosing which enemy to engage first and whether it is worth committing for the kill. Each newly introduced enemy forces some type of playstyle change. How can I kill this guy faster? Oh, the shotgun rocket doesn't work. Oh, they are slow, so I can just outrun them for a while and kill them later. Maybe I just literally unload my entire arsenal and take them out ASAP. Especially in higher difficulties, this game gets hard, but each failed attempt at a fight is just more fuel for you to get in there again with a better understanding of what's going on, with a newly formulated plan that, let's be honest here, it will probably fail miserably, but that's pretty much the whole point. Dying repeatedly is core to the learning process this game presents, and I'm personally all down for it. Boss fights. So I don't want to spoil boss fights. There are quite a few, some of them super cool, some not that insane. The interesting ones are very unique, considerably changing the approach the player takes towards the encounter. Going from an enemy-filled arena to a 1v1 boss fight lets the player focus on attack patterns and boss phases without having to worry about dodging a gazillion projectiles constantly flying your way. Mainly in the starting levels, some new enemies are introduced as bosses, often in really tight, small arenas, forcing the player to learn their moveset as there is no cover and dodging them is the only way to stay alive. I found this approach pretty good as it checks the player and makes sure that they have what it takes to keep going before these enemies are introduced in normal encounters. In terms of story, boss fights definitely hit the mark in what they represent for the story, catching the player by surprise more than once. Arenas largely consist of simple, blocky architecture varying in sizes to limit player movement and often driving players' attention towards verticality. With such insane movement capabilities, cover loses relevancy in favor of platforms to support player mobility and combat flow. In between fights, there is one decision for you to make. Do I run into the next encounter, or do I hunt for secrets? Or maybe I just sit here and admire this beautiful skybox. So, secrets. I am trying really hard not to spoil them, because holy fuck! The secret bosses and levels go from super scary to hilarious to Easter eggs of other games that go beyond what I've ever seen. So if you play Ultrakill, definitely go for the secrets, they are so worth it. Despite being in early access and still missing almost half of its campaign, Ultrakill has become one of my favorite first-person shooters, and I will recommend it to anyone looking for a fast-paced, demanding but oh so rewarding experience. That's it, that's the video. Maybe now I'll be able to put the game on the side while I wait for another update. Goodbye.